Death, in the deepest hell of Buddhist cosmology, does not function as an exit. The sinner in Avīci Naraka burns to ash, and before that ash can even settle into stillness, it pulls itself back together, flesh rebuilt from cinder, lungs reinflated mid-scream, nerves re-threaded through a body designed only to suffer again. The Sanskrit name tells you everything. Avichi, without interval, no gap, no breath, no mercy of unconsciousness between one agony and the next. Just an unbroken continuity of pain, stretched across a span of time the human mind was never built to hold. We will return to this place. It is where our descent ends. But to understand why a civilization would conceive of suffering with no interval, we first need to understand what hell actually is, and what it has always been. Hell is not only a location, it is an architecture, a vault where civilizations stored the fears they could not face directly, the loss of mercy, the loss of self, the loss of arrival, the loss of dignity, and the loss of time's mercy. Some of these realms are so much worse than death that death itself begins to look like mercy. To walk through humanity's hells in order is to walk through the fears that built entire moral universes. We begin in Mesopotamia, with one of the oldest underworlds ever preserved in writing. In the descent of Ishtar, the goddess journeys toward Kurnugi, the land of no return, and passes through 7 gates. At each gate, one sign of power is removed: crown, jewels, girdle, ornaments, garment, until she arrives before Ereshkigal, stripped of every symbol that once made her divine. The descent itself becomes a machine for dismantling identity, gate by gate, until nothing survives the crossing but the raw, undecorated fact of being dead. The realm she enters is not a furnace. It is a warehouse of decay. The dead do not even need to scream. They drift in silence, coated in a fine gray dust, clothed only in feathers, feeding on clay drawn from the walls around them. There is no fire here because fire implies drama, and Kurnugi's horror is the opposite of drama. It is slow reduction, a wearing away with no climax. Identity erodes like sediment carried off by a current too patient to notice. A king and a slave become indistinguishable specks of the same gray dust. Their names, their conquests, their entire sense of self ground down into the same gray silence until nothing can tell them apart. Hell is where a culture buries what it cannot look at directly. For a civilization that invented cuneiform, that built its entire worldview around the permanence of the written record, around names carved into clay so they might outlast the hand that carved them, this was the ultimate terror. Not agony, but erasure, to be unwritten. The Greeks feared something adjacent but distinct. Their ordinary dead didn't burn either. They drifted through the fields of asphodel as pale, murmuring shades, neither punished nor rewarded, waiting near the river Lethe. The name Lethe is tied to forgetting, and its function is precisely that, to dissolve memory itself, thought by thought, until nothing remains to mourn. Plato describes souls forced to drink from it before reincarnation, washing away every fragment of what they witnessed, suffered, and understood in a single silent swallow. Lethe stands in direct opposition to Mnemosyne, the goddess of memory herself, mother of the muses, the embodiment of everything civilization is built to preserve and pass on. Lethe is Mnemosyne's negation. It is a hell not of violence, but of dilution, an unmaking so gentle it might almost be mistaken for peace. Mictlán is not a moral punishment. For most of the dead, especially those who died ordinary deaths, it is simply a 4-year journey, because in Mexican belief, your afterlife path depended less on how you lived than on how you died. The soul crosses 9 levels. First comes Tepeme Mona Mictlán, where 2 mountains slam together and pull apart without warning, forcing the traveler to time each step by instinct alone. Then Ixtepetl, the obsidian mountain. Its slopes lined with volcanic glass that shreds the traveler with every foothold. Beyond that lies a wilderness of cutting wind, where direction fails and progress becomes uncertain. Only then does the soul reach Itzehekayan, the wind of knives, a freezing gale that flays it in layers. There is no devil presiding over any of this. only distance, geography, and the Underworld's own indifferent machinery. After 4 years, the soul reaches Mictlán and dissolves into the 9th level. Not condemned, simply finished. This is a hell built from a very specific fear, that death might not be an event, but an unbearable, uncertain duration. Jewish tradition turns the horror inward. Gehinnom is often mistranslated through a Christian lens as a fire hell of eternal burning, but its dominant strain within rabbinic thought concerns exposure, not heat. The Talmud describes a soul confronting its own conduct with every excuse stripped away, every self-deception burned off in full view, leaving only the naked shame of what was actually done, and why, and who was hurt in the doing. This is the fire of moral exposure, not skin burning, but ego burning, layer after layer, until only the truth remains standing. Crucially, most interpretations cap Gehinnom at 12 months, long enough to purify, not to destroy. It is hell as accountability rather than hell as eternity. But shame, given enough structure, can harden into something colder than fire. Procedure. Diyu, the Chinese hell, may be one of the most organized afterlives ever imagined. It is not one realm but 10 courts, each ruled by a judge, each processing souls through a careful system of ledgers, records, and moral accounting. Its centerpiece is the Niejing Tai, the mirror of retribution, a mirror that does not merely show the soul's sins, but replays them in full, forcing the dead to watch their own cruelty from the outside, with no excuse left to hide behind. The courts carry this precision into the punishments themselves. Gossips and slanderers are sent to the tongue-plowing hell, where the offending organ is drawn again through a furrow of iron, a literal harvest of every lie once spoken aloud. Those who wasted what others lacked face the hell of the grinding mill, ground down as they once ground the food they threw away. Diyu is what happens when the universe discovers paperwork. This is the Chinese moral imagination at its most terrifying. Buddhist karma, folk religion, and imperial bureaucracy fused into one afterlife machine. The horror is not that the cosmos is cruel, but that it is precise, and precision leaves nowhere left to hide. From Chinese exactness, we move to Florentine poetry, to Dante Alighieri's Malebolge, the 8th circle of the Inferno within the Divine Comedy, and arguably the most inventive hell ever designed by a single human imagination. Malebolge is made of 10 circular ditches, each hosting a distinct category of fraud, governed by the law of contrapasso, punishment designed to mirror, twist, or reveal the sin itself. Diviners who once claimed false sight walk forever with their heads twisted backward, weeping down their own spines. In the 9th ditch, the sowers of discord, those who tore apart families, factions, and whole communities, are themselves endlessly split open by a demon's blade, healing only to be split again with every circuit of their walk, a punishment that never stops repeating the division they once caused. And in one of the poem's most pointed images, the Simoniacs, clergy who sold sacred office for profit, are buried headfirst in stone, their feet alone exposed and set alight, an inversion of the very elevation they once corrupted for gain. Modern games like Dante's Inferno turned this descent into spectacle, but the original poem is colder. Hell is not chaos, it is sentencing with grammar. We move north now, into ice, into the old Norse vision recorded in the Norse Náströnd, the corpse shore. Its hull is woven from serpent spines, venom dripping continuously from the roof onto oathbreakers, murderers, and adulterers confined below, unable to shield themselves from the fall. In the same dark vision, Nithagr appears as the corpse eater, the malice striker, feeding on the dead beneath the world already moving toward ruin. His name is drawn from Nith, the old Norse word for a deep social shame, the unforgivable disgrace of breaking an oath, showing cowardice, or betraying one's word before kin and community. In a warrior society where honor was the one thing holding raiders, farmers, and chieftains together against a hostile world, Nith was a wound deeper than death itself, and Náströnd was built to hold those who carried it. There is no fire in this hall, only cursed rain, an endless venom fall, dripping without pause onto those confined below. Modern audiences may recognize this cold Norse dread from God of War's Helheim, but Náströnd is older and more morally vicious. Not merely a land of the dead, but a venom hall for those who broke trust itself. Even Norse mythology imagines a world moving toward its own ending. What waits beyond it does not end at all. What if hell existed with no ending, no interval, no pause, not a single fractional second of relief? This returns us to Avīci Naraka, the final hell in this survey, and one of the most extreme visions of suffering any civilization has imagined. Buddhist teaching measures its length in kalpas, spans of time so vast that scripture illustrates one using a mountain of solid stone, 40 leagues wide, worn down by nothing more than a strip of silk brushed against it once every 100 years. The mountain must vanish completely before a single kalpa has passed, and Avichi lasts for many such spans. But the true horror is not just the length, it is the texture of the suffering inside it. No rising action, no peak, no lull between waves of pain in which the mind might catch its breath or gather strength for the next one. The feeling is one of pure, unbroken continuity, a state where before and after collapse completely because there is no gap separating them, no seam in the suffering for the mind to hold onto. Sekiro turns resurrection into a curse, and that is the same dread Avichi pushes to its limit. Removing death's mercy does not save you, it traps you. The body reforms, the burning resumes. There is no interval. Somewhere in that furnace, the ash is still trying to become a body again, and it will keep trying forever. Every hell we've walked through is a mere turn toward the living. Dust, forgetting, distance, shame, precision, irony, and betrayal. Each one a fear a civilization could not survive naming. If that unsettled you the way it should, like, subscribe, and join us for the next journey into the darkest corners of mythology.